You are listening to the Empowering Working Moms podcast, Real Talk with Dr. Prianca Naik, a show to help professional moms in survival mode to take hold of their lives and thrive. If you're ready to take powerful action to create your best life, then this is the show for you. I'm your host, Dr. Prianca Naik, board-certified internal medicine physician and certified life coach. Now let's get to it and dive in. You are listening to the Empowering Working Moms podcast, episode number 8. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am super excited about this episode because it's talking about a concept that I created called fearing forward. I know a lot of people talk about failing forward, but I think so many of us are afraid, and we really need to implement fearing forward in our lives in order to really make the best of it. So many of us are paralyzed by fear. We let it rule our lives. People are often afraid of what's on the other side of a change, big or small. Our brains are wired to protect us. Of course, as we've gone from cavemen to where we are today, this fight or flight mode, this protective mechanism, can go from helpful to a hindrance real fast. So often, we're afraid to do things. We are afraid to take steps. We are afraid to make a big change. We are afraid of the unknown. And I want to address being afraid of the unknown because honestly, so much of our lives is unknown. We actually don't know what's going to happen outside of ourselves in any given moment. Let's say the next minute, the next hour, the next day. And of course, we all crave routine. We assume we will be alive tomorrow. But these are assumptions and not facts. It's not a fact that we'll be alive tomorrow. So when you put it into context of being afraid of the unknown, realize that we actually deal with the unknown all the time. Hopefully that will help you to feel less afraid of the unknown. Think of a time when you were afraid, but you did something anyway. What were you afraid of? Why were you afraid of it? What was the outcome after you faced your fear? And was what you were afraid of as scary as you thought after it happened? Here are some stories of fearing forward. I had an opportunity when we moved from my husband's job to change careers. I love the private practice I was in, and actually I'm currently still with them. At the time, I did not want to leave. In fact, when I told my senior partner I was moving, I was bawling, crying about leaving that job. I looked for medicine jobs in my new city, and the setup, the pay, the people weren't the same as my old group. So I took a leap. I made a decision to launch my business. I was afraid. I have no business experience. I don't have an MBA. I was afraid of what people might think, especially other doctors out there. I was afraid they'll think I'm a sellout. I was afraid of financial instability. I was afraid that people might think it's weird that I changed careers. And you know what? I have zero regrets. I am so happy that I faced my fears and I feared forward. And today, I am truly living my best life. I am happy with my choices, and of course, I know I have the liberty of changing my mind at any given time. I'm going to give you a client example of fearing forward as well. I had a client who's a physician and mother of 2 young children. Her husband was an emotionally and physically abusive alcoholic. Her home situation felt unlivable for her, no matter how hard she tried to mitigate her own anxiety because of his unpredictable behavior. She wanted safety and peace, and she definitely wasn't getting that at home. She entertained moving out, but she was afraid. She was afraid, she said, of being alone. She was afraid of him moving on to another woman. She was afraid of what people might think of her life if they found out. But one fine day, after he slapped her in the face, she decided he had crossed her boundary. She made plans to leave, and she left. She was emotional at first about it, but pretty quickly she adapted and she had exactly what she wanted: peace and safety. The process she went through was not easy, but it was simple. She told me that all that she had built up in her head, all of her fears, were not nearly as bad as she thought they were going to be. She wished she had moved out sooner. That's something I hear a lot. I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had applied for that job sooner. I wish I had moved sooner. I wish I'd gotten a divorce sooner. Because we are creatures of habit. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. But that means we gravitate to what we know. And we are afraid of the unknown. But remember, we deal with the unknown every day, whether or not we realize it. Here are some tips on how you can fear forward. Do a trial of a baby step, moving out from your partner, like the story I just told. Let's say, just try going to dinner alone or on a trip by yourself. Take baby steps of a sneak peek of what it would be like to be alone, and you will see it's actually not that scary. Tip number 2, know that you can change your mind. If you make a decision and you're afraid of the consequence, know that there is another course of action that you could take. You can always change your mind and perhaps find yourself better off. Tip number 3, fear forward. Force yourself to face the fear regardless of what your brain is rationalizing. Tip number 4, remember your resilience. Human beings are so adaptable, and we get used to a change a lot faster than you might think. Women are tough and can handle so much more than they think. People tell me I'm strong, and I believe I am, but I also believe that anyone can be strong. You just have to decide to be and then do it. Tip number 5, be in alignment. When you are afraid to do something, ask yourself if the choice aligns with your values, if it aligns with who you are or who you want to be. Tip number 6, do what you would tell a friend to do. Would you tell a friend to take that job promotion or go ahead with fertility treatments or leave her partner in the situation that you are facing? Whatever you would tell her, you should do yourself. This gives us a different perspective. It allows us to gain some distance from ourselves and to do things more objectively, instead of being sucked into our own brain drama and feed into the spinning and obsessing. Tip number 7, approach the fear-inducing situation with curiosity. Alan Wyatt says, by replacing fear of the unknown with curiosity, we open ourselves up to an infinite stream of possibility. We can let fear rule our lives, or we can become childlike with curiosity, pushing our boundaries, leaping out of our comfort zones, and accepting what life puts before us. Let's get curious about our fear and barrel forward. We have one precious life to live, so let's tap into our power, tap into our bravery, and get the fuck going. Here's my challenge for you. Pick a small fear that you can face in the next week. Once you decide what it is, decide what action you're going to take and then take that action and fear forward. By fearing forward with one small step, you will eventually face a larger fear head on. Let's get to it, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Empowering Working Moms podcast, Real Talk with Dr. Prianca Naik. If you are ready to get unstuck and out of survival mode to live your best life, I want to invite you to book a free 30-minute consultation call with me. To get started, visit priankanaikmdcoaching.as.me. Link in the show notes.